Welcome back to Valheim. Today I have a special video for you on how to build a log cabin. I know there's a few videos about this out on YouTube, but some of the techniques I'll be showing you today are pretty unique and they just make the process a lot simpler. Many of you have also requested this video because you're coming over here from the Wilderheim series, which is my current live stream Valheim series at the moment, where I have a massive log cabin that I built as our starter base, and you all really liked it. So today I'll be showing you how to go about building something like it and all the little tips and tricks for lining everything up, and it's pretty easy once you get the hang of it. So I started out by leveling a big area here. Then I placed a floor plank just on top of the dirt. Reason for that is I like to snap my edge. I like to make like a little wooden foundation for the cabin. I like to snap my edging to that floor plank so that I can be assured that it sits in the ground, rather than just snapping it on top of the ground like that to where in some places it might not be touching the ground. So that's a nice little tip. Tip number one, to always just place a floor plank if you're doing like a perimeter for a house and then snap your first beams to it. And that just, I don't know, make sure they're seated in the ground properly. So with that, we're gonna build an outline for this house. I think I'm just gonna do let's see here. We'll see. I'll show you all the consequences of your actions later based on how you lay out a floor plan. So this is gonna be a floor plan for now, and we're most likely going to be changing this floor plan very shortly, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So the first thing you need to do is lay out a floor plan for your cabin. Then we're gonna take little 1 meter pieces and put them like so on each corner. And again, this is just a square log cabin. You can use these same principles and check out the Wilderheim series if you'd like to see a lot more depth and jut outs and all that cool stuff to make a more complex log cabin, but the concepts are still the same. So these are so that we can actually overlap the logs. So how we do this is essentially we're gonna snap logs like that. I'm gonna have a little door on this side and a little window on that side over there. So as you can see, we've got a little door, and I'm going to continue snapping these logs, and those 1 meter pieces that we placed on the end create snapping points for these logs. And for this, I'm just using the 4 meter logs. But for this side, I actually might want to use the 2 meter ones and put 2 windows in the back here. So obviously we can't really snap one dead center right here. So what I'm gonna do is just destroy one of these guys. And we're gonna place a couple of those instead, just so we have a snapping point for our log. So this is gonna be our door, and we're gonna have 2 little windows. Now, something I want to mention, when laying out a floor plan, you have to think about everything at once. You have to think about the big picture of how you want your roof, where you want your doors, and where you want your windows. This is incredibly important. And the reason for this is that if you lay out your floor plan, let's say I wanted a door right here, I wouldn't be able to have a door here. And I'll show you why. So if I wanted a door here, I'd have to use the little 2 meter logs, and you can see that they don't snap. You cannot snap a same size, like a 2 meter to a 2 meter here on a corner. You have to use a 4 meter to a 2 meter, and vice versa. Or you can also use a 4 meter to a 4 meter, just like so. But you cannot do a 2 meter to a 2 meter. And this is really important to think about, because I've done this a lot where I'll come up with a whole floor plan that I think is gonna be great and realize, oh, I want a door right here, and I also want a window right here. See, if I wanted a door right here, then what I'd have to do is put a 2 meter like that and then have this be a solid wall. There would not be able to have a window here. So yeah, that's how I would do that, and something like that. You know, I could have a little door like right here. So that's something to keep in mind. That's really important when laying out your floor plan, is just make sure that you don't snap a 2 meter to a 2 meter or lay out your corners to be doing that. So again, for this video, we're gonna go ahead and just have a solid wall on this side, and our door is gonna be over here, and our windows are gonna be here and there. So we just wanna keep that in mind. Obviously, for the windows, I can build them up. I usually, for windows, I like to go up too high and then I'll do the windows. So I'll go up 2 like that, and then I'll go up more, and I'll just focus on one wall at a time, just to make it easy for you all to follow along. So these are gonna be my 2 windows. I like to snap on little windowsills like that, just to the top. And with windows and doors, sometimes I also like to do, you know, little something like that. I also will do that in the corners sometimes. But, you know, it's not too necessary, you don't have to. And for this, I'm actually just going to leave these poles out. But sometimes if you want to give your build a little more texture, you could add some of these on the edges of windows and such. But we'll just be trimming out the windows with normal 2-meter beams like that. So those will be our windows essentially. And now we can fill in the logs all the way around them. So I'll just go ahead and do that. Again, just focusing on this wall for now, because you'll see as we get to the other walls, we'll run into a few other possible complications. And as you can see here, we can actually snap this little 1 meter here. So you might think, oh, I can snap a 1 meter, but we go up to here, and now we have a 1 meter here instead of a 2 meter that was underneath the window, and now we can't snap this other beam onto here. So that's, again, the issue of why you need to really think about this when laying out your floor plan. So we have to stack 4 meters all the way up. I keep messing it up. 1, 2, 3, and 4. There's no 3-meter beams in Valheim, but forgive me if I mess up between 2-meter and 4-meter beams, or 1 meter and 2-meter beams. So I might call these little 2 meters 1 meters every now and then. I'm just so used to it, especially when we're dealing with these ones, which are twice as long. But yeah, we're basically just gonna stack these all the way up. So now we have 2 walls that are relatively complete. And my windows, I think, yeah, I like them at that height. I think I'm gonna just use a 4-meter pole just for reference of where I want my roof to be. So we're gonna stack the walls right up to the top of that. And again, now I can use the 4-meter beams on both sides. And then I'm just gonna break that. And then for our roof, we're going to snap these along the top. And this essentially is a 4-meter high roof. Okay, so if we put a floor in, which you'll also notice is a little difficult. You can either snap it here or you can snap it here. So that's why, rather than kind of using these little 1 meters and doing the floor like out 1 meter, I always just do a floor plan as if I'm doing a floor plan for a normal house, and then I add these little 1 meter jut outs for the log overlaps. That way it just makes it a lot easier in my mind of what it is I'm trying to create. And it's definitely tough for me to explain all this first go, so if you do have more questions or want more specific videos, do let me know in the comments. But for now, there's 1 wall done. There's our floor, which is very well snapped in place. And then we're going to complete this wall. So now you can see we actually have the 4-meter beams right on top of the window there, which means I could do a 2-meter beam like that. So we're actually gonna do that here. We're gonna do some 2 meters, and we're gonna have a big window here. So that'll just add a little bit of spice to the build. And as you can see here, same thing, I cannot snap this on here like that. So for this, I'm gonna have to use a 1 meter. All right, just like so. And that'll essentially be the outside, another little 1 meter there. And now I'm gonna stack up this wall next to the door, all the way up, just so I know what I'm dealing with up top here. All right, and now I'm going to mirror this side. So I'll just do one of these and one of those, just so we're starting to bring our roof beams in place. And I'm going to have this be a full-size window, and you'll see this come together. It'll be easier to explain as I get farther along with the building process. So that'll be my big high window, my roof peak window. And then for that, I'm gonna be placing a little 1 meter on both sides. Now, the roof layout is really important when it comes to these log cabins. I personally really like to do a roof layout where the roof will come out 1 meter from the cabin wall, so that I make sure the roof at least overhangs these little log jut outs. You could go out even farther, but this is how I really like to do it. So again, I'll go out Yeah, something like that. And then this will come out like that. And then I will go ahead and do just a little 26 into a 45. That's going to be my roof peak. All right, so again, 45 into a 26. And let me explain here why it's important to think about your roof when you first start the build. As you can see right now, my roof perfectly snaps in. It snaps in. You have to always think exactly 2 meters bigger than your floor plan for the roof. Because, for example, if I had this floor plan 2 meters shorter, so or actually 2 meters wider, so instead of being 3 of these floor planks, it was 4 of these floor planks, then rather than using these, my roof peak would essentially be this, to where I'd have a little X at the top, and then it would come down instead of meeting up in the center. However, for cabins, I really don't like to put the X up at the top. And the reason for that is that if you're trying to do, well, if you have like an L-shaped cabin, for example, you can't do the X at the top because I can't meet another window to it. All right, like if I get a roof corner, 45-degree roof corner here, and I put it like that, you can see it comes below the X. We don't have these little 1 meter roof panels. So if I'm trying to meet up trying to meet up the roofing, it's difficult because now, as you can see, like if I wanted a little window right here for an L-shaped cabin, I'd be able to do this, but my window would be totally blocked off because I'd have to snap one of those in. So you can see it's just not practical, and I always like to work even instead of odd with roofing on cabins. So never have this little cross, because you can obviously you can have the cross, you just have to put it in after the fact. So I'll re-snap what I had initially before, and for example, if you want that cross, just go ahead and put the cross in like that. But I always like to have it be even. All right, so for this we have 1, 2, 3, 4, instead of anything odd. As long as it's even, you're good to go, because then you can snap any roof plank or create an L-shaped cabin or anything like that, which means to have the roof be even, you need your floor plan to be odd. So you can see my floor plan is 1, 2, 3, which is an odd number. You want that to be the case so that you can have an even roof so that everything lines up properly afterward. I guess that's the biggest tip I was trying to get at. And you'll see that here it's a 3 by 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now this is no big deal if you're not really doing an L-shaped cabin. But if you're doing an L-shaped cabin, I'd probably want to extend this out by 5. And then come over here with like an L shape or a jut out or things like that. And again, check out the Wilderheim series for that big cabin if you want to look at it in greater detail. But yeah, just make sure your floor plans are an odd number, especially if you want to do like little windows or jut outs or things like that. So with that, let's continue the build. I'm going to stack these all the way up. And we're going to go ahead and complete this. And I'll get back with you guys when these walls are completed. All right, so this wall's completed. Now we can go ahead and put our door in. And for that, I'm just going to use let's use the standard little door. It will be the 3 meter high door. And I'll go ahead and fill in 2 logs above that. So I like to trim it out like that, and then we can just go ahead and pop our door in just like so. And now I'm gonna trim out the edge of the roof. So again, using that same technique, little 1 meter, 1 meter. And then on the roof peaks, like this, I like to leave it open. So I'm not gonna take a beam and go all the way across like that, where my roof peaks are, just on the edges like this. All right, then you can take the little 1 meter by 1 meter planks and fill in this little gap here. And this is gonna look really nice afterward. I'll show you why. So we'll keep filling in this. All right, and then we're going to continue our roof peak on this side. And again, doing the 26 into a 45, just to spice it up a little bit, make it look nice. All right, and now we can take our 26-degree roof planks and fill in the bottom here. And then we can go ahead and take the 45 degrees, fill in like that. And this is why you do an odd floor plan instead of an even floor plan, because this becomes apparent. So say I wanted a little attic window here. Watch what would have to happen to get there. It's super easy right now because all we have to do is go like this. So yeah, little jut outs like this, they're just gonna perfectly match up and it's gonna look really nice. And again, if we did a, instead of having it 1, 2, 3, 4, if we did it only 3 or if we did it 5, these would both match up and we wouldn't have this issue of having to extend this roof line up. But because we had one of the floor plans as an odd number, it still works out in our case. But as you can see, yeah, if both the floor grids were odd, then this would meet up perfectly and we wouldn't have this X here, which can get complex if you're doing a bigger cabin. I would definitely recommend having an odd shaped floor plan, but at least have one of the sides of the floor be odd. So I still have the 1, 2, 3. And even if one of my sides is 4, having that 3 will allow this to work out properly. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and build out this side here. And then for the top of my roofs, as many of you know, I like to just put a little ridge like that. Always makes it look nice. And I forgot to do a little 45-degree slope there. Perfect. And there is our cabin plan. Pretty well completed. Again, I can go on the side, I could make a little interior. I could, you know, make a nice loft here with some windowsills here if I wanted to really get fancy with placing some of those. And this could end up being, you know, this could end up being a little windowsill for a loft that's in there. And this is essentially your basic roof plan. Looks awesome, the logs overlap, but that's not it. I always like to add a little bit of trim to the edge of the roofs. So I like to put these little guys out like this. And then we're also gonna overlap it in the front and back by 1. So I'm just building out a skeleton structure for a little more pizzazz in the roof design here. And then on the front and back, I like to add these little trim panels here. Perfect. And another one of those crosses. Just making things look really nice, because in real life, log cabins have quite a big roof overlapping these logs, because they need to shed the rainwater and the snow in order to not have the logs rot, because if like puddles or snow piles up alongside these logs, it's going to rot the logs. So they often have quite the big roof overhang, if you've ever looked at a real log cabin before. Then I like to go ahead and fill in the sides with these, and these will get gray. You know, these little roof, or these little 1 meter planks, they will get gray and weathered, but I kind of like that look when it's on a roof. So that's just something to keep in mind if you want it to be gray and weathered. You don't have to do this, but you'll just see how adding this extra little bit, look at how nice that makes it. Our cabin just officially has a bigger roof overhang here. Just looks really clean. And then again, we can do the same thing to these ones as well. And the cross. And again, 2 crosses might be a little busy for you, in which case you could just destroy the inner one, or not do any at all. You know, it just kind of depends on your building style. Sometimes I'll do 2 if it's a big roof peak, but for this loft, for example, I don't know if I really like having the 2 like that. It looks kind of cool, but in this case, I might destroy the inner one. But I can't do that actually, because now I don't have any trim that comes up. And again, this is a consequence of the fact that we did an even floor plan, doing the 4x3 instead of a 3x3 or a 3x5 floor plan. So yeah, we have to have those crosses there to kind of at least make it look somewhat decent. And then again, we can add these little little planks on the side, just to match up with everything else we did. And there is our roof. A beautiful little cabin roof. Looks pretty nice. Definitely, it just looks super natural, and it's not overly complex. You know, I'm not trying to free place anything. Everything here is perfectly snapped in place. And if you do an odd floor plan, you'll be able to do things like this. You'll be able to take the filler pieces and actually fill in the edges of your roof, which is also a super important thing to be able to do. And again, on the ends here, you can take the little 26-degree pieces and snap them in. Let's see, they'll go in. We might have to destroy this roof piece to put these in. There we go. Perfect. All right, so there's the little fillers, and this is an important part of why I suggest doing an odd floor plan, because having the roof be even for the purposes of being able to put these fillers in place is like a must for me, you know. And because of the fact that we didn't have an odd floor plan this way, because we have 4, then that makes this roof panel be odd. So again, it's not too big a deal because this is just going to be an attic window, so I'm not even really going to fill this in because it's a window. But as you can see, we wouldn't really be able to put a filler in there because it's one of those roof peak pieces, which they don't have fillers for. So that's what's really nice about this, is we can get those windows and everything else looking really nice like that. And this wall, I might just do it solid all the way up. So that's how we would just close up a wall. And again, I just have the logs, you know, they'll stop right there. And that's why I put this little trim piece to kind of fill that gap, because if you, as you can see, if we didn't put these little pieces, just looks like, you know, looks kind of odd. Whereas if we have these, it just cleans up that gap, makes things look really, really nice there. And again, on the ends here, you want to do a little something to spice up the build. You can do something like that, like a nice little log support going up, and whatever your heart desires. But that is a super cute little cabin. You've got a nice little door over here, nice size little interior, and again, you can go as big with this kind of stuff as you want. I could do a little staircase, do a little loft. But the main takeaways from cabin building are: be sure to plan your door outlines and windows for where those are gonna go, because like I said earlier, you cannot snap a 2 meter to a 2 meter on a corner. It has to be a 2 meter to a 4 meter, or it has to be a 4 meter to a 4 meter. So that's a really important bit. Also, if you can have a odd floor plan, 1, 2, 3, and I'd make my life a lot easier by going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this case. I probably wouldn't do a little 3x3 because that's kind of tiny. But yeah, doing like a 3x5, that way that little roof peak would have met up perfectly, and we could have put fillers in if we didn't want to have those be windows. So again, just thinking about your whole process as you build out the cabin. And this, again, is only one of many ways to build log cabins. It's just one of my favorite ways that I've developed, and I just really like how they turn out. I really like how the roof overhang looks. It's not too heavy, yet it's not too little either. And it's definitely essential to have your main roof come out to these, to the tips of these logs rather than, you know, come out to the log wall there. So, just a nice little cabin design. And I hope those of you who requested this build are satisfied. Again, if you have any further questions, be sure to comment below and I'll hopefully go over them. And I hope the rest of you enjoyed this video and it was helpful on some level. And I'll see you in the next one. Cheers, Vikings.